Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Prospero.ai stock market live streams. As you're rolling into the stream, whether you're watching it live or in the future, be sure to drop a like. We got a great stream for you all today. As is tradition as of lately on the streams, I have to do some housekeeping in the beginning because our streaming service does not seem to like to live stream to Twitter recently. So I have to make sure our Twitter live stream is functioning correctly here, but I'll be joining you all in just a moment. Let me get this post up on our page so that we are able to be discovered. And then we'll get into all the topics and the good stuff in just a moment. Hopefully everybody's having a good day in the markets today. I see a lot of stocks are moving quite a bit here. All right, we should be good to go now. Sorry for that, everybody. All right, so let's roll into the topics here. I will take you all through what we're going to be discussing on the stream today. I got a text just before the start of the stream that George has a Claude segment, a special Claude segment to go through. So we shall be waiting for that. That's going to be cool on the stream today. Dividend Degenerates is here saying, what's up? What's up? Good to see you. Lou is in the stream from Venezuela. Hello, Lou. Welcome to the Prospero AI Stock Market Live. Bunch of great topics to go through today. A busy earnings week as well this week, so we are going to bring up some of those that are yet to be reported. We will start off the stream with actually a look at the offer that, or expected offer that PayPal looks like they're going to be getting from Stripe to be acquired. Probably wasn't on anybody's radar heading into 2026, but PayPal has sunk to new lows, and it looks like Stripe is finally looking to acquire possibly. So we'll talk about that. Also, Coinbase announcing that they are going to be adding stock trading to their platform. So I'm wondering, is this a more bullish story for Coinbase or a more bearish story for the existing trading platforms, particularly Robinhood, which has had a bit of weakness recently? I see Lowe's sent Intuit earnings today. Intuit, I'll bring them up. We're actually going to be covering the SaaS apocalypse, which they, I think, are caught up in. So we'll discuss them during that. I also wanted to bring up another earnings reporter in that category today, CRM, and maybe a few others like Wix and CrowdStrike and any other software as a service company that has plummeted in 2026 because of the AI of it all. And another interesting part of that story is the dynamic we're seeing where when ChatGPT was getting all of the hype in the beginning, every announcement they would make would boost the sector that the technology was meant for. But nowadays, we're seeing every headline that Claude makes kind of wreck the sector. So what has changed from since then till now? And why are we seeing this dynamic happen where updates are very viewed by the market, at least, very poorly for existing companies? Dividend Degenerate said bullish for coin. Hood will be forced to go 24/5 as well. Yes, probably right. I think Hood is looking to go like literally 24/7, 365. It seems that's the way all of the markets are heading now that crypto is a thing. By the way, everybody, we're seeing Bitcoin and most of crypto get a little bit of a buy the dip here today. The next topic I have for you all is we're going to look at GameStop because we rag on AMC a lot on these streams, and I feel like maybe we haven't covered GameStop and given them enough praise for how they've actually been able to maintain a little bit of that premium in their stock versus how quickly AMC has gone back to the bottom of the barrel. And GME actually has some good Prospero signals, and it has, for the most part, over the past couple of years, from time to time, looked pretty good in the signals. So what is it about GameStop? Got to give the management some credit, but also building upon our story of back, if you guys were here a few weeks ago, we covered how, back in the day, people had JP Morgan, a generation had JP Morgan, like Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, all of these companies. And now we have like Polymarket, Kalshi, and Robinhood. I feel like this is the same thing possibly with GameStop and comparing it to Berkshire Hathaway. Like, could GameStop be our generation's Berkshire Hathaway? Because it seems like they're kind of becoming an investment company. I saw they are taking a or looking to possibly take a stake in Bed Bath and Beyond. And this is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment, everybody. I'm not actually comparing them to Berkshire, but it's funny how everything kind of seems to be headed in that direction across the board in the business world. Another stock which has earnings, and I want to bring up, is RKT, earnings tomorrow. They have a really interesting institutional buying chart that I came across, where in Q4 of 2025, there was an overall volume of 5.59 billion in buying and only 306 million in selling for the company. And the chart is spiking ferociously in institutional buying in the most recent quarter. So, what is going on for that company? If you guys remember last year over the summer, they were caught up in that like little short squeeze trade with Open Door. This is Rocket Companies. So, maybe a second round for them. And with earnings on deck, we'll take a look. Then we have top AI companies signing an energy deal for electricity supply. Companies included XAI, Meta, Oracle, Google, OpenAI, Amazon, and Microsoft. And this was just talked about last night on the State of the Union address. If you guys saw that, was wondering if that would affect the markets at all today. Doesn't seem to be having too much of effect. The market, actually, I don't think I've said yet, the markets are in the green here today. QQQ up over 1% here. SPY, Dow, and Russell all between 0.5% and 1%. VIX down 7% today, so a big drop in the VIX. It's now back under that 20 level, so it looks like the market is calming down a bit. Maybe we catch some bullish footing. Oh my gosh, we've gone this far too, and we haven't even mentioned NVIDIA earnings. Is that a sign of the time or what? NVIDIA earnings this week as well, today actually. I remember when in the peak of the AI hype, people were having NVIDIA watch parties, and now we've went 7 minutes on the stream, and this is the first time I've mentioned it. But it seemed like the major risk for most of NVIDIA earnings in the past, 8 or so quarters was, are they going to report something that will derail the AI rally and hype in the markets? And now it seems like it's the other way. It's like, can they report something bullish enough to save the AI hype and regain it and start the momentum again? So it seems like it's a little bit of a different scenario heading into this one. Let me know what you guys think in the chat. Do you agree? And what are you thinking ahead of NVIDIA's report today? This was a wild headline. I saw it just before the stream, making its way on Twitter. What's up, Nick? Welcome to the stream. I see you just joined us in the chat. Microsoft's Japan offices were raided as part of an investigation into their Azure platform in the country. So I doubt this will have any major impact on Microsoft, but it is a headline-catching news story nonetheless. And with stuff going around about Microsoft and their drop, they're kind of part of that SaaS apocalypse too, I'd say. But we'll take a look at their company. And then last but not least, we had a Discord question about Celsius stock. For those that don't know, if you're newer to the Prospero community, newer to the streams, if you go on our Discord, there's links for all of our socials and our Discord. You could join and follow whichever ones you like. But we got a great Discord community and people. There's a room on there for ticker requests. There's a room on there for live stream discussions. So, if you want to hear a topic brought up on these streams, you can go ahead and comment them there. And then we like to get to all of them. We always try to address all the questions, concerns of the people watching. So if you have any throughout the stream, any single stocks, macro, micro, AI, business world, whatever you got for us, just feel free to comment it and we will jump on into them. George is going to join me here in just a moment, and we'll dive into all the topics I just went through in detail. But before we do that, we can take a look around the markets and update on how things are moving at the moment, and then we'll get into everything in detail. So I'll go into the Prospero app, and I'll look at SPY, QQQ, and our new tickers. We look at XLK and XLI here. So SPY still at the zero flat line, nothing changed there. QQQ at 3. Maybe if nothing else, NVIDIA earnings report being out of the way after today, maybe we could see some kind of increased levels in those metrics in the Prospero app. XLK is at 13 and XLI is at 36 for net options sentiment. So those are the readouts there. We could take a peek at how things are moving today in the markets. Like I said, Bitcoin is making a bit of a recovery, up over 5% here today. Still under that 70K level, though. We have going through the Mag 7, we have Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla in the green. Can it be a clean sweep? Yes, Nvidia in the green as well. So I feel like it's been a while since we've been on the streams and seen all of the Mag 7 companies in the green on the same day, which we are seeing here today. So a buy the dip going on in the world of tech at the moment. Let's see, anything else moving bigly here today? I saw some stocks that are reporting this week are making massive moves. One of those was Kava, which we've talked about from time to time on the streams. They're up almost 25% right now, and now up 43% year to date. So the market seems to be a market of winners and losers, but you can find individual companies that are working, and Kava looks to be one of those so far in 2026, and a mega move up after their earnings report. Let's see what else is moving big here. SoFi, popular retail stock, up over 4% here today. Reddit, which has some good Prospero signals from time to time and has pulled back quite a bit, is down up 5% today, down 35% year to date still though. Now we haven't talked about SNDK in a bit. I wonder how they are doing as of late. Let's see how they've done over the past week. Up 7% over the past week, still up 30% over the past month, have barely dipped down from all-time highs. So it seems like SNDK, one of the strongest companies in the entire stock market, still holding true. Let's check out MU Micron too. Micron up 2% today, 6% in the past week, 45% year to date. Yes, looks very similar to SNDK. So similar memory play right there in MU and SNDK, and both are doing well here. Coinbase up 13% with the bullishness for crypto and probably some of the story that we talked about as we were going through the topics in the stream. So that stock is looking to gain a bit of momentum. Let's see. Let's check out the Prospero favorites. How are ASTS and LEU doing? ASTS actually red right now, still up 12% year to date. But it's dropped back a bit from its all-time highs of 122 per share. LEU, let's check them out. LEU up 2% here today, back over that 200 per share mark. Now just red year to date after their drop from their earnings report. So I got to ask George if this new mega cap tech energy AI deal affects his thinking about the nuclear stocks at all. I wonder if it will change, or since these companies are going to look to spend on their own, if it just makes any difference. Because I think one of the thought processes with that thesis was that the government would be spending and supporting that. So I wonder if that changes anything there with the nuclear players. Yeah, but it looks like for the most part, many companies up here today in the green. A pretty good breadth day in the markets. One stock actually down quite a bit. First Solar down 14% after they reported their earnings. The market did not like. One name that gets a lot of coverage on social media that the signals of the Prospero app have never quite liked, and George has never really supported, for good reason, having seen the stock move over the past couple of months, is HIMS. HIMS reported and was down on their earnings yesterday. I've been following the coverage of this on social media. A lot of people were spiraling, it seemed like, but it was able to turn green yesterday and now green here today. So maybe a bottom for HIMS stock. We've had over 300 people in the stream already. Any HIMS shareholders in the chat right now? These Prospero.ai live streams are a safe place. So if you're watching on Twitter or YouTube, let us know how you feeling about HIMS stock. Let's keep looking around the markets here. Another company that pulled back hugely from their all-time highs, and they were getting so much bullishness, it seemed like, after they announced their drop in prices for Tesla FSD, is Lemonade stock, now offering basically a 50% discount from just a few months ago. Actually, almost exactly a month ago. They've pulled back very quickly here. So let's check out Lemonade in Prospero app, see if their signals have changed. What's up? Caden's in the stream. Good to see you, Caden. Welcome in here today. Good to have you here. All right, we'll check out Lemonade. Lemonade signals still look pretty good. 82 upside, 72 net option sentiment. Pulled back a little bit from where we saw them back when they were having that momentum rally. Although the time series graph for downside does not look great. It was at 27 in early February, and then a big spike up, and now hanging up there in the mid 50s. Hello, George. Welcome to the stream today. Thank you for joining us. Everybody's pumped to hear your thoughts on what's driving the markets here. Do you want to start? I've teed up your special Claude segment. Do you want to wait to do that later on, or do you want to jump into that in the beginning?
No, I'll get it going. 1 second here. There's a really cool thing that I have. So I've switched. I know it's a betrayal to Perplexity, but Claude is just too good.
Claude is king.
Yeah, and you'll see why, right? So this is a prompt that I like to use. And I was actually doing like one of my stock lessons for someone where I was like taking them how to like combine Prospero and use this stuff. And like I will post the link in the thread here. See, this is why you come to the streams. And what's kind of like remarkable about this is I was able to like the way it creates this, it ranks, I just basically, the day I did this, I took all of the top momentum score stocks and I put them in. A 30-day catalyst score. And like you guys can see this report, might just be worth downloading. It's a very detailed report. And you kind of see, let me get out in front of the other one. I think there's another one to download. Anything else? No, that's good. Open up these Word docs. All right, you gonna open up? Okay. So you see it has this whole methodology and it tells you how it's doing it. And you get these ratings in different categories, like AppLovin, but you kind of see an interesting analysis there. Then what I did is I actually saw that that all of these companies were kind of in that top list. And I was like, oh, they're kind of in similar businesses. So I grabbed this, and you'll see there's this like, there was a prompt that I saw. I literally threw in a screenshot of like something I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. I saw someone on Instagram. And then, so you can go in here, right? And what was very interesting is I came out of this very impressed with Iron. And I'll say why I was impressed with Iron. Like, it's very hard to like necessarily know all this stuff, but if you look at the gross margin differences, right? Basically, Iron, I didn't know, like I had some awareness of this just like qualitatively, but I didn't know that Iron was so dragged down in terms of their margins by crypto. Um, and I left this, and you can kind of see the multiples that these stocks are trading, right? And you look at this like pretty cheap EV to revenue Iron, especially when you look at the difference between, the margin advancement and in terms of like the market cap that Iron's trading at relative to some of these numbers. So, and you could even see like the ultimate analysis was that Iron's trading at a discount, and the other three are trading at a premium, right? And I found all that very, and this like literally, I don't know if anybody's looked at a Citi research report. It really looks like a Citi research report, right? These are even like the disclosures that it uses. It's crazy. I don't
That
know
was
if people
actually a
have any
question
questions, but I'm
we
like,
got in the chat of like that format that you were just showing. Is that what Claude like formatted it for you as?
I mean, you can see I just asked the question. Um, and then and then it like, produced those results.
How long would you say from like your initial prompts to that format you had in the docs? Like how long was that process?
I mean, there was the first one, and then there was the second prompt was the one like I saw the rank, and then I was like, oh, these four stocks are all in similar businesses. Let me compare them through that prompt. So it was two prompts to get those deep documents that actually taught me a lot.
So like what? Like 15 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, if even that. No, that's like the $20 version that I
Mm-hmm.
use.
That's crazy. How long do you think that much research would take, and how many people, like just 10 years ago?
Um, I don't know. A lot. A lot.
That's crazy. That's good info though for the people that are watching. The ways you can use AI today
I
is
mean, I wouldn't
wild.
even tried to do that, is the truth.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I think some people are like doing that in different, like kind of more nonlinear ways, but yeah, it's crazy.
I did have a question for you about Claude today because I feel like we're seeing a change in the way that the market reacts when announcements are made from Claude. They seem to be wrecking legacy companies when any kind of Claude update is crossing the headlines now. And I feel like that's very different from when ChatGPT was making updates and announcements. They were kind of boosting the sectors they were announcing them just like a year or two ago. So, what switch do you think is happening there? And do you think it's justified? How do we explain this change we're seeing?
No, I mean, I think Claude is um what's impressive about Claude is that the team, the resources are smaller, and debatably they're out slugging the other players, and they're newer. Like for those that don't know the background, Anthropic um is a lot of like open AIers that didn't like the direction of that the company was going, right? So like especially when you kind of see the way Claude is, pulling away after starting behind GPT. Like I think some of it is that AI is coming for everything, But I also think some of it is that people are just impressed with the velocity acceleration of Claude at, a fraction of the resources, and obviously that means more are coming. But yeah, I think that that's like, people saw the Perplexity things that I would get back, right? Like, I think the formatting is just part of it. I think the way that it's, the way that it organizes information, the way that it thinks about things is just, for lack of a better term, like smarter, more organized. Like, I really feel like when I'm dealing with like Opus 4.6, like for the first time, I'm really dealing with something um that is consistently smarter than me in terms of how it frames things, right? Like we kind of had that whisper number in that example of Perplexity, where, when I asked the whisper number, it gave me something that it didn't. But, other than that, I really feel like I'm directing Perplexity exactly in the directions that I want. I think some of, um, I think some of, uh, what's impressive is that it's just like it seems to be moving to another level of problem solving, and I think that's why it's scaring all these businesses. Like um I just looked at opening I just opened up an ACN short, and obviously like Accenture is a very tech enabled company, and their chart, like, you look at their monthly chart, like, let's see, the last time they were this low was basically the COVID crash in 2020, right? And it's just like, yeah, I mean, it's so many different things, but it's just like, I mean, already I think you have to be kind of dumb to hire an expensive consulting team when I think it's pretty clear at this point, you know, a bunch of Claude tokens, maybe I don't know how the consulting works with them, but like, you know, some budget for tokens, someone that understands prompt engineering. It's like, to me, like, you could probably get a similar level of work now today for maybe a 20th of the price, maybe even less than that, than a consultant could charge you. And that's today, right? So I think that's why, like, and you've heard me say this for a while, Stephen, that consulting was going to die, right? That was the first thing that I was like, this, its time on this earth is limited. It's coming for other things. That was the most obvious thing to me. Um, but yeah. Um, I'm looking at this question. I don't know if you have a follow-up, Stephen.
I do have a follow up, and then we'll get right into Caden's question after. But it seems like so far with AI, there's been this leapfrogging constantly. First, it was OpenAI ChatGPT, then Perplexity. Google and Gemini had its flash as the leader. Now Claude. Do you expect as this industry progresses, like we're going to see less shifting in the sands, especially as someone clearly has the best like AI brain, as you phrased it before, it would seem like it would get harder and harder for someone to ever catch up to them if they truly have that. So do you think we're going to see the players get more set in stone here, or are we going to continue to see these different names pop up?
Um, I'm not sure any. I wouldn't bet against any of them re-emerging. Um, Especially because what we don't know is what's being released versus what a company has, right? And like we talked about this before, where it's just like some of these companies that might feel that they're behind might release something that's more untested, right? And there's risks to things being untested, right? Those risks range from something like, more, something that's just like, oh, it says something inappropriate to someone, right? To it, finding its way out of its cage and doing something, scary. But I think right now, a place like OpenAI is being more careful about that. But you never know. Like right now, this trajectory does not look good for them, right? I think they still have like so many people that I talk to just still use GPT because that was the first thing, and it's very hard to get people to switch. But I definitely am more concerned for them than I am for, either of the other two, especially considering the fact that, like, what I said, they started, like, Anthropic started with a fraction of the resources. And, not only did Anthropic like have like a lot of the talent, like, some of the OpenAI talent, went to Anthropic, and Anthropic is like accelerating. B, you have people like Mira Murati, who was, the CTO, who started her own company, right? So, maybe there is a talent issue at OpenAI now. And if there's a talent issue, I'm not sure it could be solved. I saw a funny video about Sam Altman. Well, it was I guess his brother Jack Altman being interviewed on a podcast, and the person interviewing was like him like, well, how do you feel about having Sam on your show? Like, do you trust him? And he was like, yeah, it's my brother. Like, but what I thought was kind of funny about that is I do think, talent and trust, especially like high performing talent, uh, I do think there's some trust issues with Sam Altman and the
I,
public.
I like to think of myself as a good judge of character, and Sam Altman is completely. He just. He, I don't know. I don't know what it is about him, but I cannot trust him. The way he answers questions, shiftiness. There's something to
Yeah.
it. It's real.
If anyone ever wants to see something like truly weird, and I'm not saying like in terms of question answering, Tucker Carlson interviewed him about the whistleblower, um, that died under some suspicious circumstances. And like I'm not gonna make any dispersions about like, what I think of him being guilty or not. Um, but I think to your point, like it's the way that he answers the questions. It's just not how you would expect someone to answer like questions like of the gravity that he's getting. It's kind of like I mean, for lack of a better term, he's kind of like a bit robotic himself, right? It's like he doesn't, and I don't want to like, I know, some leaders are on like the autism spectrum, and I don't want to like make light of, you know, some of that could be completely out of his control, and I don't want to like be a hater around that. But like as humans, we do want to connect with someone a certain amount to trust them. And I think what I'm saying a different way than you is I have problems connecting with him. Um and like that's not necessarily universal. Like we talk about different leaders. Like obviously people feel very differently about how easy it is to connect with Elon Musk, right? We have some big polls there. But, you look at someone like Jensen Wong, and like pretty much everyone connects with him. And I think I saw a different vein. Like I saw some like a Stephen A. Smith like thing he was talking about where he was just like, um I forgot, it was really funny the way he put it. But he was talking about, I texted my friend about it so I could look it up. Um
while you're looking for that, I can respond to this. I feel like the way that people connect with Elon and Jensen more than Sam is like you come across the way Sam answers that he's always trying to like manipulate the conversation in some way. Whereas even if you like agree or disagree with what Elon or Jensen said, there's like a source of truth you feel like they're coming from, or like that they're actually giving it to you straight. Where I feel like with Sam, you don't get that feeling from the way he answers. It always seems like
Agree.
a
Like,
yeah
I think
marketing type
everybody
of thing.
does, yeah, everybody does that to a certain extent. They ask questions the way they want, but I think some leaders are better at like gracefully redirecting versus I think what you're saying, which is like looking like they're avoiding the question, right? Everybody gives the answer they want. The question is like, how well do you get people there, provide transitions, things like that? And I think that's what you're saying. Oh, this was the this was the line that I loved. They said negative things about Jesus, but not Steph Curry. So like, I think that's another example where you're just like it goes, over different things. Like people have very strong feelings on like LeBron James, for example, right? But I think that's what it was in reference to. But like strong feelings both ways. But like, everybody loves Steph Curry, right? And I think in that sense, um, it's harder to say like who's a better CEO. Like I would still say it's like Jensen Wong, right? You can take other things, right? But I think it's pretty easy to say that LeBron is better than Steph Curry. But it's like it's the debate over if they're over or underrated. Um, that is the interesting thing. But I think also that's just like, it's the same kind of thing. The way, I think people like some of what forms their opinion on LeBron is I think LeBron is pretty distant. Like we haven't ever gotten to know him, very well. I would say like very similar to like Leonardo DiCaprio. Like nobody really like he's out there, but like nobody really feels like they know them very well. And I think that like, people feel like, Steph Curry is like always like hanging out with his kids on the court and like, and he's just got a different kind of affect that I think, welcomes you in more. And I think that like, you've got like Steph Curry here in terms of being welcoming. You've got like LeBron here, and then you have like Sam Altman over here, right? He's just like he's not making any effort to welcome you in. And that's going to be very interesting, in a private company. Uh it's way easier. Like we're talking about, it can hurt you in hiring. But in a private company, like you can get away with that more. Like it's going to be interesting to see, like for example, if they think about replacing him before they go public, because among other things, like you want your CEO in a public company to have skin in the game, right? And he like very famously doesn't own equity, or have compensation, and that in it of itself is a weird thing to Wall Street. So that's something to watch.
Prospero live streams, you get Sam Altman, LeBron, Steph Curry. You never thought you'd hear it. I want to jump into Caden's question. Sorry for waiting a bit, Caden, but that was a super interesting high level discussion right there on OpenAI and the state of AI. But Caden's asking, newer to stocks, interested in jumping in, curious if now is a good time to start, and was 2025 a good year?
2025 was a good year. These have all been good years. I mean recently. It's it's always a good time to get started. And we're also only like look at what happened with the tariffs last April, right? We're only one news event or a series of news events away from people being able to lose their shirt if they don't understand risk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Always a good time, always a bad time, in that sense. Um, like right time we're at all-time highs, right? And like something just as a newer person to stocks, the most predictive signal is if a stock will go up the next year is if it went up the last year, right? So all-time highs are a good thing. But all-time high, all-time high, all-time high, the more you do that, the more a drawdown is, and the faster it could go in the other direction with speed, right? So those are like two risks that have to be weighed in this conversation. And that's why we always advise people to manage risk, to learn how to manage risk. You can start paper trading. My base suggestion to everybody is always just like get in some safe ETFs like Vanguard Total Return, Schwab Dividend, right? And Schwab Dividend being the safer one. Then just start to test small pockets of money on using things like the Prospero signals or that Claude system I just shared, using them together, and just getting better, getting more confident, right? Because more than the gains or losses, like what you are going to need more than anything is developing that routine, developing that confidence, because you'll lose the most when you aren't confident and you sell at the wrong time or you buy at the wrong time. That's everything to it. So what you can do is you can start your learning journey, but there is never a good time to enter the market, right? Because you're always one misjudgment away from selling too early or buying too soon or any of those things. And what I always tell people, if you want me to go through like and build like a learning plan for you one-on-one, I always do that with people. You can email me, George@Prospero.ai.
Good
I
answer for
do
Caden there.
unfortunately only have like maybe 7 more minutes, because I haven't done the trade alert yet today. I
All
gotta go
right.
do that.
So let's rapid fire topics. We just need like minute answers from you because we got to get some content for these
So
short
bad it
videos.
goes. Okay, let's go. Let's do it.
Um, Coinbase adding 24-hour, 5-day-a-week stock trading to the platform. Is it more bullish for Coinbase or more bearish for Robinhood?
I almost added them this morning when they were up 6%. I'm kind of kicking myself because I think they went up like 13 or 14%. I'd say bullish for Coinbase. There's room for both of them to do well. I think there's way more upside to Coinbase right now. It got hit pretty hard.
Moving on, Stripe reportedly in talks to acquire PayPal. Now, this is crazy because I feel like just like 3 or 4 years ago, it would have been completely the other way around. So, do you think that's a good idea for Stripe? Is it even worth it acquiring PayPal with how much the market seems to hate them at the moment?
Oh, I definitely think it's worth it, right? Because some of what you pay for a company like PayPal for is their customer list, right? You start to like reskin things, change, and then all of a sudden you've acquired customers. They might also have like a bunch of vendors that they could do B2B stuff on. Um, they have really good like fraud detection stuff. So it might be that Stripe is acquiring them to enter into new businesses because their stuff isn't as sophisticated around that. But overall, what I always say about these things, it's the price. We'd have to see what the price is. There is value to be extracted from PayPal for sure, but the question is at what price?
So the next topic is a callback to our generational divide in like the JP Morgans and Morgan Stanleys of the past, and then Robinhood's Polymarkets of today. This one is comparing GameStop to Berkshire Hathaway, and doing this because GameStop is kind of becoming like an investment company. Firstly, with Bitcoin, now Bed Bath and Beyond looks to be on the radar. This is tongue in cheek. I have to preface that because I feel like I could get like backlash from even saying this, but it's kind of funny. So is GameStop this generation's Berkshire Hathaway?
Oh God. No, because they're missing a Warren Buffett, right? What's that guy's name?
Ryan Cohen.
Ryan Cohen. I was gonna say Ryan Wilson. He's no Buffett, like for a variety of reasons. Like they're just, a company that is taking a rabid retail following and trying to build a new business. And it was very high in our signals, right? it goes on these runs because people get excited about it and institutions try to play the momentum, but it's just shitty, right? Because there's so many people that are so gung-ho on this company when they don't have a real business. They're trying to invent a new business. And like Buffett pioneered so many good new ideas. We were talking about it earlier in the week, right? Like buying Bitcoin and Bed Bath and Beyond is so like painfully unoriginal. Like I'm not just being like he's no Buffett, right? Like he hasn't had one. He's a good marketer, right? But you don't build Berkshire Hathaway being a good marketer. You need to be a good strategy person. And I've seen no evidence that he is. Those are like basic bitch business ideas. Like Bitcoin. Like what's more basic than let's buy Bitcoin, right? You could like walk down the streets of Miami and any bro is going to tell you that as their like great business idea, right? Uh, I mean, probably some other places other than Miami, but Bitcoin is crazy there.
That's hysterical. A company reporting earnings tomorrow, RKT. If you remember them, they were like in that short squeeze frenzy last summer with like Open Door. They have a really interesting looking institutional buying chart, and in Q4 it really spiked of last year to 5.59 billion in total volume of buying versus 306 million of selling, and it has just ramped up over every quarter of 2025. So I just wanted to bring them back up. Are they interesting to you at all heading into the earnings?
79 option sentiment on a very nice upswing. I mean, you could play it if you like RKT. Maybe the fact that it's a little memey, there's always like more upside, right? And even just like a decent earnings report in something that's, memey. But I don't know. This earnings season has been tough. Like, I already exited IonQ heading into their earnings today, and I feel like I might regret that because their profitability has been shit. But this earnings season has been the last few, they've been strong, and the market's been strong, and it's been easier to be like I'm holding. I'm not feeling that great about earnings lately, and in both directions, right? I feel like I was a little like bearish, like in my own mind because I'm not playing a lot of them. And it's gone the other way, and vice versa.
Well, one more question for you, and then we can let you go if you want. But following up on the earnings topic of like the SaaS apocalypse that's going on, would those be companies maybe that, if any, to look at now that they've dropped a lot? Are any of those ones interesting? Someone commented Intuit before. I believe CRM is also today, but a lot of those companies have really plummeted.
I do think there's a lot more upside than downside in those, right? Because everybody's already writing their death warrant. But the other side to that is maybe people will be hypersensitive to even small misses down, and then misses up will be, and then beats. But like, yeah, like the only businesses like we saw that research, like AppLovin being at the top. Like there's some businesses that I think it is a bit overblown. But in terms of how hard they've been hammered. But even, especially something like Salesforce, right? Will we even need sales databases? Like a lot of that was just so we could like navigate it through it with like our small, animal brains, right? Like I don't know that we will need databases going forward, right? So that's a little tougher. Like we will need ads, right? And that's why it's just like say what you want about AppLovin, right? They've got an ad, survey mechanism, and yeah, that might get replaced, right? But I think a sales database might get replaced, soon, might get replaced in like I think all of this stuff is eventually going to get replaced, right? Ad delivery, Meta's trying to fully automate that, blah, blah, blah. But I think a sales database will be replaced. And that's why you saw them spending all their money on like that agentic stuff, right? Because they knew it was coming and then they realized that they couldn't beat those other companies. So it was kind of smart, right? You're not going to homegrown build something at Salesforce that is better than like, you know, what Anthropic's building, right? There is that talent issue. The same thing where it's just like, it's kind of crazy that even a company like OpenAI, if they don't have that like top talent, like that can really invent new things. There's like those people and there's everybody else. And like I don't even know how many of those types that there are, but I would think like what is going on between Anthropic and OpenAI is evidence of that. I gotta go though. I'm behind.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for coming. Sorry I was late and leaving early.
No worries, George. It was a great stream. Thanks for tuning in. Everybody, appreciate you tuning into another Prospero AI stock market live stream. I have to at least bring up NVIDIA earnings on the stream today. Prospero signals on the stream today. It would feel sacrilegious to not look at them in depth here on the earnings day. So NVIDIA currently 81 upside, 53 net option sentiment for NVIDIA now. And it has gone steadily downward from the 90s all the way down now to the low 50s throughout its time series graph. So, wow, it's going to be interesting to see how it moves once it reports and the effects it has on the AI and stock market world. As always, we'll be here on the live streams covering it in detail every step of the way. If you enjoyed the stream, the topics, be sure to drop a like before you go, and we will see you guys again next week. Have a great week and weekend, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, all. See you soon.